I know we can't live in this world without social media, but I do not think social media can be the force that drives your business anymore. People don't go to social media looking for a business coach. They go out there to get lost, and there's a lack of conversion.
Welcome to the Other 99% podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Duck, a coffee loving direct sales enthusiast who's obsessed with a good digital system. Come join me for a realistic look into the world of direct sales. We'll explore inspiring perspectives, learn about unique business tips, and celebrate success stories that often go untold. Because on the other 99%, every seller matters.
Hey everyone, it is me, Lisa, and welcome back to another episode of The Other 99%. I'm excited to be here again with our co-host, Susan Larimer, and our returning guest. So Melissa has been on the podcast before, but she was in a different role when she joined us. So Melissa, I'm going to jump in and just ask you to share with the listeners sort of who you are, what you do, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, I don't want to get too long-winded, but I am first and foremost a wife and a mom. I live in Jamestown, North Dakota. My husband, Jeremy, and I have been together for 15 years, and we are raising two daughters together. Ramsey is 13 and Merritt is 9. And that is my greatest joy in life is to be their mom. I previously spent over 12 years in healthcare administration. And then I spent 7 years in direct sales, 5 of those years in leadership. And I kind of got to the point where I didn't love all the things you had to do in direct sales. And I kind of had business coaching on my heart and on my head for a while. And I just decided in 2025 I wasn't going to be scared of anything anymore. So in April, I launched my own business coaching business for female entrepreneurs who are looking for a healthy work-life balance.
Yeah, we know Melissa from the Modern Direct Seller Academy, which we talk about a lot on this podcast. And Melissa has always come across, I don't know her personally. We know each other virtually, which Lisa and I know each other virtually. But you're a very no nonsense girl. And I love that about you. You're not into the drama and the fluff. You are down to business, but you have such great ideas, and I knew you were in paper pie, and then all of a sudden you were in this coaching, and I'm like, of course, like it's such a good fit for you. So very excited to see all the things that you are doing. So you specialize kind of in the time management, creating boundaries. So do you want to dive right into that?
Yeah. So it may not be well known, but 42% of the businesses in the United States are owned by women. And I think as women, we face a unique challenge of having that pressure to balance those careers and balance a family. And I'm not saying men don't feel that pressure, but I don't think they put that pressure on themselves the same way we do. So I really want to help put systems and strategies in place that allow women to have all of it without guilt and without feeling like they have to sacrifice one or the other. So I talk a lot about time management, setting boundaries, giving yourself confidence, putting systems in place that are going to work for you, not just like having goals and kind of spitballing ideas and hoping something sticks, but really creating a business strategy and then sticking to it and checking back in on that strategy and adjusting as the world demands that you do it.
Before I go into my question, I want you just to share like what is your company name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my company name is Balance and Business with Melissa. So it's kind of like right there. It's you can have business, but you can have balance as well.
And was there any special meaning behind that or just because you wanted to focus on
Yeah.
the balance side?
Yeah. Balance has just always been, um, it's not a unique story, but it's a story that's very difficult for me to share. I don't do vulnerability well. I do honesty very well. Um, But about 6 or 7 years ago, I was experiencing some imbalance in my life. I spent a lot of time talking about how important my family was to me, but I poured a lot of time and energy into a job that really didn't pour anything back into me. And I started relying on alcohol as a coping mechanism until my daughter, who at the time was only 6 or 7, said, pointed out that I was doing this. And that was the tipping point where I was like, you know what? I need to make some changes. I need to start living in line with what I'm saying. And from that point on, it became all about balance. And the thing about balance is balance doesn't mean equal. It doesn't mean my work and my family get equal time. It means they get the time that they need in that season.
I
Okay.
love that. So
Yeah.
have you always, with the time management, even with the balance too, is that something that do you think you're born with that? The ability to manage time well and to balance things? Or did you really have to learn how to do that?
Think it can be learned. I think it comes more naturally to some people. Some people are naturally planners and organizers. I am one of those people. I've always liked deadlines and set dates and set times, but I do think it can be taught. I think a lot of people get thrust into situations where they figure out that they have to have a plan and they have to be more organized, and they can certainly do it. It just takes some time to figure out what's going to work for you. And that's another thing is I don't teach one system of doing things. I think each person needs to do what is uniquely going to work for their situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would a typical work session be like with you? So if somebody was saying, "Hey, I want to, figure out this work-life balance thing. Melissa, can you help me?" What could they expect?
Yeah. So the first thing I do is it's a free 30-minute discovery call, and I have anybody who's going to go through that process fill out an intake survey before that. I like to hear, what are your goals? What are your struggles? Where do you feel like you need the help? And then we sit down in that first meeting, we really run through all of it, maybe dive into some specifics, and then at that point decide, first of all, can I help you with what you're looking for? I've had situations where somebody's asked me for help where I'm like, I'm not your person. I'm not a marketing person. I'm not a content strategist. I'm not your person. I'll connect you to somebody. I've had people that are like, this is what I'm doing. I'm writing a book, but I don't know how to block out time to do it. Well, I can help you block out time. I can't help you write a book. And then from there, we start diving into sessions, like 45 to 60-minute sessions, where we start working through those goals. We'll sit there and we'll discuss what's happening, what needs to happen. I believe in tiny changes. I know nobody can change overnight. Follow up with action items. And then we set a next meeting where we're like, okay, let's review how these action items are going. Where do you feel like you still need support and encouragement? What do we need to build on, and where are we going to go from here? But I believe in baby steps. I want somebody to be able to fly on their own, even if it takes a little bit longer, versus just kind of, you know, getting them where they want to be fast. And then once they have to do it on their own, it doesn't work.
So who is your ideal client? Like, who is that person, that dream client that comes to you and you're like, okay, you are the one that I was made to help?
I think we all serve the people we relate to the best. So I provide services virtually, so anybody within the US, but we're talking female entrepreneurs, kind of that 22 to 50 age, who they may be just starting that business, or they're trying to turn their hobby into a job, or maybe they've started within the past 12 to 18 months and they're really struggling to find that traction because it's a change and they don't know how to make that change go. And that's where I can come in and just kind of talk about, okay, it's probably more of a systems and a time management breakdown than it is an idea breakdown.
Okay. So my question is, okay, you just mentioned systems, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you said everyone is unique,
Yeah.
right? There's going to be no one that is going to be like, it's not a cookie cutter system that you can provide. But can you give us like a glimpse inside of like let's say a common, because there's probably a common system that you would use, and how somebody could pick something up like that and let it help them with their time management?
So I would say the one consistent thing I like to tell people is you need a website working for you. So Oh My High is a favorite to throw at people who don't already have a website working for them. And email marketing. I know we can't live in this world without social media, but I do not think social media can be the force that drives your business anymore. People don't go to social media looking for a business coach. They go out there to get lost, and there's a lack of conversion. So I'm always going to push, a good website, and then also email marketing, having a CRM built in so you can build that audience and reach people who are looking for your service. Those will be my number ones.
And then to piggyback on that, another system, how do you track all of the people that you're helping? You need to know when they're going to have a follow-up call. So what kind of system do you use to track your clients?
So I am in the process of making a change as I grow. Incredibly simple process to start with. Google. Google's good for
Okay.
everything. Google Calendar, Google Docs, but I recently found a system called Zoe. It is founded by a wonderful woman named Nicole Lowe. She is actually a mentor of mine. She created a platform specifically for coaches that allows them to do their video recording, their transcription, their scheduling. It connects you with other coaches so that you have a network of people to lean into. So I'm new into that system. I actually did my first coaching call through there today, but I'm really excited to have have everything in one place.
Nice. Have you heard of that system, Lisa?
I've heard of Zoe, but I've never really looked into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, coaching is Melissa's thing. Coaching is not my thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, finding a system like that, I'm more I actually just joined a course for course creating. So that's my goal in the future is to create some courses. And ironically, one of the courses that I have in the top of my head is you know how you were talking about you can't build your business on social media, and that was like the one thing that I think people really need to know about is that you do need a system to grow your business online, and online is not on social.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that you mentioned that.
Yeah, and I don't neglect my social media. I've got content, but I don't waste a lot of time and effort. I schedule an entire month at a time. It takes me 60 to 90 minutes, and I don't look back. It is definitely not where you want to pour your energy at this point.
Yeah, so true. Now, would you say that your clientele are a good mix of direct sellers and small business owners, or do you service more one or the other?
I would actually say I have more clients that are entrepreneurs, creating small businesses in the community, or honestly, just women who really struggle with time management, confidence, boundary setting, who are just looking for somebody who can help them get their feet under them in life more than in business.
Perfect. I was going to say, I think that would be a perfect fit for a direct seller because many direct sellers come into this business and they don't know what to do. They are not business owners, but then they're thrown into this task that and they're told like you now own your own business. So I think that would be great for someone struggling trying to launch their direct sales business because time management is huge,
Yeah.
a
And
huge part of
with direct
success.
sales, you've got commissions built in and you have people giving you the tools you need behind the scenes, but at some point you have to make your own plan. And I think sometimes direct sellers don't think of themselves as business owners, but you are. You're your own brand. A good friend of ours, Evelyn, she's like, they're just my how did she put it? My producer or whatever. Um, and they need to run it like it's a business, but a lot of times they don't know how because a lot of people join direct sales because they're sold on the idea of you can do it in small pockets of time and it's not that hard and it sells itself, and it really doesn't. And they already have the time and the capacity to do this, to take this on. So they really do need to put something in place that allows them to build their empire.
Yeah. So you talked about social media a little bit. And I agree. It's hard for me to run a whole business on social media. I find that it's easier for me to use social media as a funnel to my website, to my email marketing, things like that. So, did you use social media to find your do you use it to find your clients? Like, how did you find the women that you're working with currently? How are you getting your name out there, the word out there of what you offer?
Yeah. So a lot of the women that I was working with for the first couple months are people that I was already connected with through Paper Pie, or other networks that I connected to because of Paper Pie. One of my primary goals, I live in the community I grew up in. I love the community I grew up in, and it's very important for me to be rooted here. So I do market a lot. And I'm starting to kind of see as I grow and put myself more out there, now I'm bringing in more local entrepreneurs. I did my first coffee and coaching session. So it was a free discovery call, but it was in person. I sat at a coffee house this week. People could set up an appointment or they could just walk in. And that was really exciting because I love my home office. I love working from home. But again, my community being so important to me, I need to be out there too. And it was nice to connect with people who needed help in person.
Yeah, I seen that advertised on your Facebook page, so I was kind of curious to see how that actually went for you. So I'm glad to
Yeah,
hear it was a success. Yeah.
yeah, for a first time and only using social media really to promote it to
Mhm.
get half those slots utilized. And the coffee house was very generous and has invited me to come back as often as I would like to. So,
That's awesome.
and it's just a great way for businesses to support each other in the community. I love it.
Mhm.
So now I know that you have taken some courses or some training. Can you dive a little bit into that to share like how that training that you've taken has is going to help you service your clients better?
Yeah, I'm a constant learner. I probably would have just spent my entire life in school if it wasn't so expensive. I think that any knowledge you're willing to pick up is shareable. And for example, I've been taking this 20-week accelerator course for entrepreneurs, and it's kind of incredible. I had a new client come into the coffee and coaching talking about how they want to take their product and maybe join another group and how do they market it and the legal side of registering their business name. And I'm taking all that knowledge that I've learned in those first 18 weeks of that class, and I'm able to sit there and probably have a better conversation with them because, they've taught me to really think about, well, what is the problem? What is the solution? Who are they? Who is their target audience? You can't just think of the immediate solution. Let's look 12, 18, 24 months. I read a lot of books. You know that about me. I love a good book. And I just think that it's so nice to collect that information and share it with people who don't have access to it or haven't had a chance to find it themselves.
Yeah. So, okay, you talk about your family a little bit. Are you that organized mom that has the big calendar with everyone's schedule color coded? Like, is that you?
Yeah, it's me. It was funny. So, my youngest daughter and my husband both have ADHD. So, and it's very hard for me sometimes to cope with the things that come with them having ADHD. But there's times where I'll tell my 9-year-old, I'm like, hey, can you remind me or tell me later? And she goes, Mom, are you sure you don't have ADHD? You sure forget a lot. I'm like, I am managing the schedules of 4 people plus a business here. Like, give me some grace. And then last week, my husband was like, hey, can you remind me to schedule a couple appointments on Monday? So I put them in my task list. My father-in-law, you can't just remember that. And I'm like, no, no, not like I would remember to schedule my chiropractic appointment and my dentist appointment. I like my list. I like the satisfaction of crossing something off. Um, I look at my week every night, like every Sunday, I look at my week to come and I have a plan. I know the unexpected's going to happen. For example, tonight my husband's out of town, so my daughter's at babysitting class till 6, but I'm just like I have systems in place to catch me when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I seen your calendar and that's kind of funny. I seen Susan's eyes because my calendar frustrates Susan like crazy. I color code, I time block, I do all the things that you probably do. And it's so funny because I gotta tell this, Susan, sorry. I share a joint calendar with Susan and it's color coded so it matches my calendar. And she can't handle the color coding. Like she can't handle that it's time blocked to block her off, right? And it's like she goes, "But we're not working that night." And I said, "I know, but it's just marked as busy, but it's still blocked because that is the typical time." And it's funny because she went in and she deleted them to get rid of them because she didn't want
I
it
thought
on
it was
her
just delete
calendar.
from
And
my
I'm
calendar.
like, "You deleted it all from my calendar too," and, so we had to come to a compromise. So now Susan, when she wants to get rid of something, she just goes and changes her color to white, so it blends in with her background. That I think that was the biggest challenge when we started working together with, the podcast, but yeah, the calendar was kind of funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But you could probably totally relate to that.
yeah, my husband's like, "I'm not gonna look at that." He's like, "You just tell me what's going on." So, I'm lucky. I don't have to share it with anybody. It's 100% my system. But,
Yeah.
yeah, even simple things like I know I'm gonna go to the gym 3 days a week, but I put the gym in there because when you put it to paper, it's more likely to happen.
Mhm.
But yeah, little things like I know I'm gonna do, like go to the gym, or I know I'm gonna work as soon as I drop my kids off at 8:30. I still put that in there because now the time is committed to something.
Yeah. And I do all of
That's
that
so
too, and I
cool.
don't mind color coding, but when it's not gonna happen, it shouldn't be on my calendar. That was my problem. So she's exactly right. If I know we don't have a meeting together or a podcast that we're recording, I make it white so that it's not on my calendar. But I deleted a bunch and she's like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "I deleted them. They weren't happening."
Yeah, it's quite funny, or if I go in and I look at the schedule link and I'm like, "Oh, all the Wednesdays are gone. Susan, what did you do?" But the joys of working with, different personalities and
Yeah.
different learning styles and everything, it's so fun. All right, so you mentioned that you have, some upcoming things in the fall, so can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, a lot I'm an ideas person, so I feel like there's always something in the works. I just have to, like, make it happen. I will be hosting my second coffee and coaching session at Bab's Coffee House in Jamestown in October. I don't have a date yet. I emailed a suggested date over to the coffee house today. And then also on November 4th, I am hosting a virtual workshop. It is no cost through the Jamestown Regional Entrepreneur Center. And I will get that link over to you so you can share it. But that is a time management workshop from 9:30 to 10:30 Central Time. Excited to share some of my tips and tricks that keep my calendar color coded and all the plans in place. And then a couple local business owners and I are starting a chapter. It's called Strong Women, Strong Connections. It's through the North Dakota Women's Business Center. That's a local event. It's going to be next Tuesday, the 16th from 5:30 to 7 at the Jamestown Arts Center. And then after that, it'll be every second Tuesday of the month from 5:30 to 7 at the Arts Center. And it's just a way for local business women to come in, connect, get training, network, and it's no cost. And then this is actually the first time I'm saying it out loud. In February, I will be hosting a Galentine's Day Gala to raise funds for a local charity who serves abused women and children. So lots more details to come. All I've done is book a venue and a caterer for that, but lots of things in the pipeline. I do have some digital trainings that will be dropping in September, one on time management. And then the other is on how to turn that hobby of yours into a habit. And that can be whether it's direct sales or how to take your knitting, living room knitting to Etsy or whatever it may be.
I love that. You're gonna help people take their businesses to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, there's room for everybody. Even if we're in the same business, the two gals that I'm doing the Strong Women, Strong Connections with, they are also coaches or consultants, but A, they're serving a different audience, and B, there's just room for everybody. And
Mhm.
that's my favorite thing about small businesses is you're a small business, and a lot of times it's just you, and you need a network of people to lean
Mhm.
into.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need a cheerleader, and sometimes that's what business coaching really is just you have a cheerleader now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about boundaries earlier. What are some boundaries you think are really important for a small business owner to have?
Yeah. A lot of times your small business owners are going to be those people that want to serve others. And I think the most important thing you can learn is the power of the word no. I think, especially as women, a lot of times as moms, we get that ask, and whether we want to say yes or we want to say no, we say yes. And you just really need to know what your personal values are, what's important to you. And if it doesn't fit in that box, your time is valuable. And if you're going to be a business owner and a wife and a mother, your time just got even more valuable and more scarce. You need to learn to say no when you want to say no. And a lot of people are going to say that's a lot harder than it seems, but it's so freeing to say no when you don't want to versus showing up to something you never wanted to be at and you're killing yourself emotionally and you're definitely not invested in whatever you're doing because you never wanted to be there in the first place.
Mm. So how do you do
Yeah.
that? How do you rationalize that answer? Like, I don't want to say yes, but I'm going to say yes. How do you reverse that? It is hard.
You don't rationalize it. That's the thing. No is an answer all by itself. I mean, I that's going to give a lot of people anxiety until you do it and you feel that peace and that release of saying no
Yeah.
and just having that time for whatever is important to you. But I know the idea of saying no and actually setting these clear boundaries is going to be so hard for a lot of people. Um, my husband's a people pleaser. I think the first time he ever had to tell somebody no when he wanted to probably killed him. Like deep inside something hurt him. But I'll use the example. There are things my kids are involved in, and I am so happy they are involved. They are valuable to them. They enjoy them. But if I get asked to volunteer, it is a hard no.
Mhm.
I'm like, that just does not fit for me. I will
Mhm.
get my kid there. I will make snacks. I will transport them. If you want money, I will give you money. But please don't ask me to spend 2 hours of my life here because I got better things to do. And this is not a priority for me. And there are nice ways to say that. It'll just be like,
Yeah.
I don't have space for that right now.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
nice way to say it. I don't have space for that right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I've done that. Like, I got proposed to go to an activity with my daughter's Girl Scout troop where I was like, no, I have no interest in going out to ban ducks. Not do
To what?
and that's okay. Like, I would have been miserable. What good would I have been out there?
Okay, I'm just curious. So what was your most challenging situation where you had to say no?
Mm. Boy, that is a hard one. Um, I'm gonna brag on myself a little bit. So I spent 12 years in healthcare admin. I worked my way up from the top. I was with one organization for 10 years. I do not have a college degree. It was willingness to learn. I worked hard. And then I did HR and I've been with a poker tour for 11 years. People know that I take a lot of pride in my work and I have been offered jobs that um they're exciting and they're very interesting and it's very flattering that people want me. But I love being stay-at-home mom. I'm not a stay-at-home mom, but I love being at home, working, being available to my children. So sometimes saying no to those opportunities, money, benefits, being around people again is really hard, but it's not what I want.
Mhm.
So it's like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. I guess it
Yeah.
comes back to knowing your values, like you said earlier. Know your values and stick to them and filter all of those offers and opportunities through who you are at the core.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's kind of, we're in a unique situation. So I work from home. Um, my husband's busy time is the summer. That is when it is my slow time from dealing poker, and then vice versa. I'm very busy in the winter, but he has a lot of flexibility. And I love this life that we've built for ourselves where I get my kids to school, I get them from school. They had art classes and babysitting classes today, and I got them there, and I can get them home. And if somebody gets sick, I don't have to scramble to find somebody to cover my responsibilities. And right now in this season of life, and probably for the next 10 years, that is going to be what's important to me. Um, it'll just be interesting to see how many things I say no to between now and then.
That's so ironic because my word of the year for 2025, yeah, that's what we're in right now. I'm like, so it's like the year is just flying. Was actually no. It was no. I am definitely one of those people who I will say yes just because I don't want to offend and I don't want to do anything to, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings or, not be able to help them out. And it was probably the most freeing thing because I got myself into a situation where um, it was just too many yeses were taking up way too much of my time, and I was giving way too much of myself away for free. And I was helping other people grow and build their business just because I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
And as
That's,
long as you continue to say yes, people will continue to ask you because they know they can get away with it.
mhm, yeah.
And once they
So true.
realize you have a stopping point, they will be more respectful of your time and your value.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, you kinda glossed over it, but we need to go back to the, poker thing because I think I learned that on an email that you sent out, and it was like top
Yeah.
10 things about me or
Yeah.
something, and I'm like, "Wait a minute," and now you've mentioned it twice, so fill in the blanks a little bit. You're a poker dealer, but
So I work for a traveling poker tour. It's called Rough Rider Poker Tour, and we travel North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Montana. I've been with him for about 11 years. So I deal poker. And then I also kind of took on the role of like when people pay their entry fees, I take their money, I register them, I pay them when they win, things like that. So I'm technically like a paid volunteer. So, for example, I just learned my daughter's birthday falls on a tournament in March. And if I decide that I'm not working on that day, I just let them know I'm not working on that day. And I love it. You meet a lot of people because you're touching 4 states and it's so flexible and it's just I think anything tied to gambling gets a really bad name, but it's probably one of the best communities of people you'll ever meet. Everybody just takes care of each other. You know somebody from every walk of life and it's a really unique family to be a part of.
that's pretty cool. Okay, so, and I think other people feel this way too. In a business like direct sales. This is my time management struggle. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to sit down and treat it like a job. Like it's a 9 to 5, set hours, even if it's like 4 or 5 hours a day, 2 hours, whatever it is, because I know if I sit down and do it for a set amount of time, my business will grow. But then the other side of me is like, it's a flexible job. And that's why I took this job because it is so flexible. So I want to fit it in the pockets of time that you talked about earlier. But if I do that, I'm not growing. I'm not treating it like a business. So how do you recommend, should I set hours? Should I like how do you what would you recommend to that?
Yeah. So direct sales, you have to think of it for essentially what it is. It's a commission-based business. You get out exactly what you put into it. What I always recommend, so I recommend time management based on your priorities. So if your family is your first priority, like every Sunday I sit down, I look at my schedule, kids' doctor's appointments, classes, practices, and then I kind of run down this list of what are my priorities. So my number 2 priority is like self-care. Okay, have I scheduled in self-care, whether that's reading 30 minutes a day? And then I look at the time I have left. So if I'm running a direct sales business, And the only time I have left is, 8 to 10 p.m. every day after my kids go to bed, then I just need to be very intentional with that 8 to 10 hours of time I have every week. And you need to have a clear plan. What are my top 3 goals and what are the tasks that go along with that goal? So if your goal, like with Paper Pie, it was always like, if you have 8 parties a month, ideally you should be set up to hit this sales goal. Well, if I want to hit 8 parties a month, I probably need to send at a minimum, like, let's just say 50 messages. And that's being really hopeful anymore because that climate has changed as well. So you need to be very intentional. I need to book 8 parties for October, which means I need to send 50 messages, which means each night that I'm going to work, my goal is to send 13 booking messages. I am a team leader. I need to do my team follow-ups. Then I need to give team follow-up an assigned time in that working pocket of 8 to 10 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever it is. So you need to be very deliberate. Yes, you can fit into small pockets, but you're going to get what you give, and you need to find time. You need to find a set amount of time where you can work towards your goals. If your goal is to just make a few bucks here and there, then work in the small pockets. That's fine. But if you want to grow and make it a business, you need to be very deliberate and very intentional.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good
I love
advice.
direct
Gotcha.
sales, like no knock to it. It's changing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys know it. It's changing. It's hard. Social media is not what it used to be. A lot of structures, company structures are changing that are not necessarily in your sales force's best interest anymore. So, to grow, you've got to do things differently. And part of
Mhm.
that is managing your time well. It no longer works to do it in small pockets and think if you send 10 messages, you're going to get 5 bookings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that we have to realize that not everybody is built the same either, right? I mean, there are people out there that they maybe could send 5 messages because their community is very supportive. They like to party, they can do this, but then you have the other people who, which is probably the majority of people, whose community is not that supportive, right? And sending those 15 messages, you might only get one maybe, right? So we definitely can't look at big pictures of everything and just expect our business to look like that influencer that is hitting top ranks, who is in the 1% of the company, right? Who is on social media having all this success. So I love what you said, that you have to be intentional about your time. All right.
And one thing I always like to point out, so for probably my first like 4 or 5 years with the company, I was like, oh, I want to earn a trip and I want to walk on stage. And then I realized those things don't have actual value to me. I wanted them because that's what you're supposed to want. That's what they drive you to want. And it goes back to what's important to you. Like, why are you doing this business? Hey, now that you know your why, what do you need to do to make your why happen? So if your why is I want to earn free trips for my family, you need to bust your butt a heck of a lot harder than the person who is like, I want to earn $100 extra this month to buy my kids piano lessons. And so don't don't get caught up in the fantasy that's being sold to you either. Like direct sales is a great step in to entrepreneurship. You get to build your own business with what should be like a fairly low overhead, and it's your chance to grow and make it what you want. Um, but don't buy into something that's not you either.
Good
So true.
advice.
Well, I think that is the perfect leadway into getting your favorite quote, because I mean, after hearing that, I think you're going to have a brilliant one to share. So
So it's kind of funny that it ties well to direct sales. My favorite quote, I tell it to my kids all the time, is if you don't ask, the answer's always no. But I mean, I think it's very applicable to everything in life. If you don't ask, the answer's always no.
Mhm.
And then I follow up by telling them sometimes if you ask, the answer's still going to be no. But Not because you didn't put yourself out there to ask.
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
true.
So is there anything else you want to share with us?
You know, I don't think so. Think I guess I would kinda leave on this note. Women put a lot of pressure on themselves to be everything to everyone all the time. And I would really encourage everybody to, like, take a step back, take a deep breath, figure out what your priorities are, and start planning according to that. And you don't. I Nobody expects you to be everything all the time. That is something you're telling yourself, and start working on those things that get you to the point where you realize it's okay to lean into the people around you.
Mm,
Awesome. All right, Melissa. Now we need to tell everybody where to find you.
Yes. So my website is bbwithmelissa.com. I am also out on Facebook. My business page is Balance and Business with Melissa. I don't hang on Instagram very much, and I'm also out on LinkedIn.
Awesome. All right. We will make sure that we link that along with your free discovery call that you offer in the show notes. So if you're interested in chatting with Melissa, just make sure that you check out the links in the show notes and get connected with her. I'm sure that she can help you do some amazing things in your business. And Melissa, thank you so much for sharing your insight, everything. I'm sure people are going to take away a lot of ahas from the call today. So thanks again for joining us, and I hope that everybody enjoyed the episode, and we will see you again on next week's episode of The Other 99%. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Other 99%. We just want to say thank you. It truly means the world to us that you're here. Lisa and I absolutely love creating these episodes for you, and we're so grateful to have you in our community. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to like, share with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. We drop fresh content every Tuesday. Got thoughts, questions, or ideas? Leave us a comment. Want to be a guest on the show? We would love to chat with you. Apply by clicking the link in the show notes. Thanks again for spending time with us today, and we'll catch you on the next episode of The Other 99%.